service. That's always very special. The bookstore will be closed from December 25th to January 11th. So I think that's all the announcements. All right. If you're new with us this morning, this is, of course, what we do every Sunday. No, I'm just kidding. But if you're new with us and would like a friendship packet, just raise your hand and Doug will bring you in. Anybody new? Okay. Well, if you're new out there in TV land or online, we just love you and hope you have a Merry Christmas too. All right, we have a reading and it's very short, so I'll just go ahead and do it. It's here somewhere. There it is. And after the reading, Charlie will invite the bell 3 times, and that is that moment to go within with the sound of the bell. And then Christy, our practitioner, will do a spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer. And then Reverend Andy is from Chico, and we just love to have him come and do a talk. And this one's called Ode to Joy. The reading today is by Charles Fillmore, Joy. We shall seek out joy for the sake of joy. We increase whatever we praise, for all causes are essentially mental, and whosoever comes into daily contact with a higher order of thinking must take on some of it. Take on joy. Good message. All right, Charlie. And then we'll have Andy's beautiful talk.
So let's go within, take a deep breath, and join with me in knowing that there is one mind, the oneness in all the universe, knowing spirit is everywhere present, and knowing we are unified in that source in wholeness, in life, in beauty, and in joy. We are all one together right now, right here, knowing that this beautiful day is pure and perfect. And in this moment, as we listen to Reverend Andy today, we open our minds and our hearts wide open at the soul level, to hear what you need to hear. And in that place, you find an ever abundant amount of joy, a joy that cannot be denied. And we bring that joy into the world and bring that joy to all, remembering the true meaning of Christmas, even through the hustle and bustle of the week. We are peaceful in this joy. So I say thank you, Spirit. Thank you for the perfect divine unfoldment, knowing that everything is perfect and already done. We release this over to the divine that always says yes, and together we say, and so it is.
Good morning. This little character here has eyes that just, oh my God, just totally connect. Whatever child gets this one is just going to be so blessed. When her prayer was over, I looked down and it's just like looking back at me like, okay, what are you going to do? I love you. All right. Well, it's so good to be here. I love this center up here. And I don't know how many of you know me, but after the fire in Paradise, I made it a transitory home for a while. And Sue and Mary and everybody was so good to me. And so it has a very special place in my heart, in my travels. And so it's always great to come back here. When Sue gave me this assignment, Ode to Joy, it was really interesting to me because I heard a comic say one time, "There's nothing funny about talking about comedy," and I don't know if there's anything joyous about talking about joy. I'm not sure, so we're gonna try this out today. So anyway. So I looked in the Science of Mind textbook and started rummaging around with, different people that I do my work with. And I found out that Earnest Holmes, in his Science of Mind textbook, has 21 passages devoted to the exploration of joy. And so, I know that in my own thinking, I think that sometimes I think, okay, joy is something that is more of an effect, but instead of a cause. But, of course, our teaching is all about, actually, instead of ending up with joy, we need to start with joy. And so that's really interesting to me. Holmes has a quote that goes to the heart of this. And it was a quote I wasn't really familiar with. I found it in the Science of Mind textbook. And it has been something that has really lived with me because I'm not sure exactly what he's saying, but we're going to explore this together. Holmes says, "As we gaze longingly at joy, it will make its home within us, and we shall enter into it and be happy." I love the sound of that. It's so poetic, but what does it really mean? When I first found New Thought metaphysics, religious science, science of mind, centers for spiritual living, however we want to think about it, a very dear person had taken me to it. She said, I was at a turning point in my life. I was coming from a stage in my life where there wasn't a whole lot of joy in my life, and I was looking for that, and I was looking for my spiritual stability. I was trying all kinds of ways to get my footing, and this dear friend of mine said, "I think there's a place that you would like to go if you will take yourself there and listen to what they have to say." And it was a religious science church, and I didn't understand anything that was said that day, but I felt like I'd come home, and I remember feeling very emotional about it. And I think that what captured me about it was that I was used to a spiritual construct that was very much in duality, and who was saved and who was lost, and where are we going, and let us build a bridge to God. And it was I found it speaking to me as being whole, complete, and divine within spirit and spirit within me. I had no idea what that meant, but it just felt so right. It's like I was working with a client. I work in addiction, and I was talking to a client a while back who, in the course of his life, unfortunately has spent off and on about 20 years in prison, has addiction issues. And we were discussing the word recovery. Why is it to get sober called recovery? I said, because something has been misplaced and we go recover it, which is the real us. And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "There is nothing profoundly wrong or bad about you. There's some things that have been misplaced. Your reaction, your response to life has been maybe unskilled and unhealthy, but the truth of who you are," and I wanted so much to say whole, complete, and divine, right? But I'm working in that field, and I said I did use the word whole. I said you are whole, And I said, you are precious and you are valuable, just the way you are. I have my clients read a lot of the 4 agreements, the whole idea of domestication. People really take to that. So this dear friend of mine brought me into religious science, and I started going, and right away I got into classes, and it was, there's no accidents in life. And so right around that time, I'd only been involved about a month or two, and she said, and this is back when we had videotapes, remember that? And she said, hey, let's rent Fiddler on the Roof and come over and see it. And I said, I don't really like musicals. I don't know. I just, I guess I'm a snob. I think that, film should be profound and deep and layered. I know that people don't break out in song, when they go into the barber shop and stuff. And she said, oh, come on, watch Fiddler on the Roof with me, So we did. And I found myself so drawn into it. And so thinking about this idea of joy, this assignment, and when I was thinking about it with all this reading and looking I was doing, I thought about Fiddler in the Roof because I remember being with her watching this in her apartment, and we're watching it, and I was just drawn into it just immediately. And what's really cool is we look at this idea of Tevye. I want to start with that. And Tevye is the dairyman. Tevye is the father of a bunch of daughters. Tevye has this wonderful wife who drives him crazy. And Tevye, the character of Tevye, was first introduced to the world, brought to the world through, when you take the writing and you take the idea of a production, and then you have that actor who comes forward and turns it on. And his name was Zero Mostel, who played Tevye on Broadway, God Forever, and Fiddler on the Roof. And Zero Mostel was this portly, large man, lots of charisma, very Jewish, very over the top. And he had a comic sensibility, and he was loud. And Zero was the kind of person, I've read about him, where he'd been on Broadway and stage forever. He was primarily a stage actor, and he could just walk into a room, and everybody, 100 people's eyes, would just go to him. He was just amazing, and he brought that sensibility. And there's something about a large, portly man who has actually got dance moves that, it's like the dancing bear or something. We're all drawn to it, the bears, right? And so anyway, people were drawn to Zero, and his character was over the top, and it was comic, and it was profound at times. And so the whole play takes on this meaning of kind of like, here's this man, and he's a dairyman, so he's being driven crazy by his cows and his customers and all the women in his life, but yet he loves all of them in his own way. And so the movie that I actually saw, that particular Tevye was played by Chaim Topol, who was a Jewish actor who he's still alive, he's in Israel. But he was very much like Zero, and I fell in love with him, and I found myself drawn to him like everybody does, and when he sings "If I Were a Rich Man" and all those kinds of things, and just his robustness, and again the kind of underlying theme that we watch, and it's such a joyous movie to watch. It's just like I guess the perfect musical. Great storyline, great acting, and of course the songs. But much to my personal embarrassment, for a very long time, because I saw what I'm talking about took place a little over 30 years ago now. And it wasn't until recently, until I figured something out about the play and the musical, that I never realized before, and I'm sort of embarrassed that I never realized this. And I realized this when I heard a gentleman by the name of Joel Grey, who most of us know from Cabaret, that amazing actor, stage actor, and then film actor, who now is, I guess, quite a stage director on Broadway and around Broadway. And he talked about Fiddler in the Roof because he is currently directing the Yiddish version of Fiddler on the Roof in New York. And I heard him interviewed on NPR. And so in the discussion of the interview, he talks about the fact, he said, when you watch Fiddler on the Roof, and whether it's the play or the movie, as the audience, you're standing outside watching these people, watching their lives, watching the story. You're invisible, and you're watching them. That's what we all do in plays, movies. Even when we read a novel, we are outside the story, watching the story. He said, of course, we all know, within all the gaiety and all the music and all the dancing and everything, we know something that they don't know. The people in the story don't know, and we know. And when asked about that, he said, we're watching people who are soon to be refugees, leaving the turmoil of early 20th century Russia and the conflicts between the Russians and the Jews. So we know that. They know that a little bit. That's what the story's about. We know that. But there's something they don't know. He said they don't know about something called the Holocaust. They don't know about communism and fascism. They don't know about the ghettos of Europe and America. They don't know about a place called Ellis Island where, once again, families may be broken. They don't know who among them has a much shorter life than the others. And see, in Joel Gray's version, according to him, I haven't seen it obviously, I did go on YouTube and looked at some clips, but in this interview, he talks about the gentleman who he has played Tevye. And I'm trying to find, all these Tevyes have really strange names, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not finding it, but I'll come up with it in a minute. Joel Gray said that his Tevye, and I've seen this gentleman interviewed, and he is physically different. He's very ethnic looking, he's got the beard and everything. He's a smaller man, a slighter man. He has his own form of charisma. He's quieter and more thoughtful, and you find yourself drawn to that. He has a sweet sensibility. And so Joel Gray wanted to move him away from the conflict with the cows and his wife and his daughters to more of the idea that soon we will be refugees and what's going on around us. But he keeps the optimism of the tradition and the religion of all of it. Now let me click back for just one moment and say that when I saw it, when I first got involved in religious science, what spoke to me the most, besides really enjoying it and everything, was the fact that I wanted to have a relationship with spirituality and tradition that Tevye had, that those people had. And I never had that in my life. I grew up in religion, but I never felt it in my heart. I never felt connected to it in a deep level. And I so desperately wanted that. I didn't even realize how much I wanted that. And what caught my attention in the Tevye, besides, the Tevye of the movie, even besides all the comic sensibility, was that we knew that he was committed and connected to his traditions and religions. And so Joel Gray wants to take that, and he expands upon it in terms of the Yiddish Fiddler on the Roof. And starting off with this very idea that Yiddish itself is a language that outsiders have a very hard time understanding. Now, we in this country, America, has a rich foundation of slang. And Yiddish could be called that. Not exactly, but a little bit like that. In other words, what's that mean? I can be around the people who don't want me here. I can be around the people who don't like me. And I can speak to my loved ones, and they don't know what we're talking about. And we saw it here, we've seen it here in America with all the groups, the immigrants that have come here over the last couple of centuries that struggled here, and so they could speak among themselves, and the general population wouldn't know what was going on. And so Joel Gray said, this is the deal. He said, I want to highlight this idea that the idea of the refugee begins almost in consciousness before it happens. And Tevye, in his play, in his musical, is aware of that. And he's got these daughters, and he's concerned about these daughters. He's got his wife, he's got his customers, he's concerned about all of them. And so that takes us to the folkloric character of the fiddler itself, which was a character of folklore tradition. Who is the fiddler on the roof? The fiddler on the roof is a character who plays beautiful music while standing precariously on a high-pitched roof. And what keeps him alive there are the traditions, the rich traditions of spirituality. In other words, no matter what we go through, the idea of the theme of Fiddler on the Roof is that no matter we don't know what this year holds. We don't know what the next 5 year holds, the next 10 years hold. But will our traditions, will what we love so much about whatever teaching and tradition and slice of spirituality that means so much to us, can it bring the joy into our lives to get through it? The ultimate idea of the Fiddler on the Roof is that these traditions manifest themselves in the joy of the fiddler who plays this beautiful music, no matter what we go through. Of those people who we know where they're headed before they know where they're headed. And so, at the end of all the versions of the musical, we see the family, who's left of the family in terms of, who hasn't been married off, who hasn't migrated already, and they begin to put everything in their wagon, and they begin to move away. And in the earliest versions of Fiddler on the Roof with Zero Mostel, they're leaving, and he looks upon the roof of the house that they had lived in, and he sees the character up there. And he says, come on, like that. And it's kind of funny. Come on. And the fiddler skips behind them. In the Yiddish version, Tevye, now they're beginning to move away. And so that time has come, that time of change, that time of expression, the threshold that we all, every single one of us in this room have experienced different times in our life where the threshold appears and we will be stepping through. What is it I take through with me? What do I take through with me? This is why Earnest Holmes talks in the idea of joy. We gaze upon joy, we make it a home, and then it becomes a home. It's very poetic, but what does it mean? It means that if we embrace joy long enough and we make it a home, we take it into the home beyond the threshold of what's coming. If we want joy, we have joy. If we want joy, we take joy. And so the Tevye of the newer version looks upon the fiddler and says, please, I love this, it's so sweet, please, please come with us. And the fiddler comes. It's this idea that, okay, I am going to step forward, and I bring it with me, and I carry it with me. Fiddler on the Roof is beautiful, and it's translatable into all of us who are spiritual seekers, all of us who are in this room today. This idea of what we see in terms of the idea of practice, to live it. The rich in the story, the rich costuming and the traditions. And I was looking at the song titles in this story, because all the songs have stayed the same in all these versions, even in the version that is centered more on the refugees and maybe the realities of things. And some of the songs are so beautiful because they're uplifting. So I'm not a Jew. I don't practice Judaism. But so I say, well, what are their traditions? What are these things that they hold so dear? And we look at the titles of some of these songs. Tradition. And so we ask ourselves, what is the tradition of the teaching that I hold so dear? What does it say about me? I worked with someone a couple of years ago, a young woman who lost a child, and a young child and lost, made transition, and she was in treatment within a year after that happening, and it was almost like she was so filled with grief, I didn't know what to do. And so at some point, one of the realizations I made was, what is it that you believe about where he is today? And she's Native American, and she's embraced some of those belief systems. And I said, tell me, is if you believe, I said, how does someone become an ancestor? I said, do you have an ancestor belief? Yes, I have an ancestor. How do they become an ancestor? Tell me someone in your family who you know is an ancestor. My grandmother's an ancestor. Why is she an ancestor? Well, a couple of years ago she passed away, and she still comes to me in dreams and stuff. I said, so, because she came to me in her grief and said, who will take care of my baby now? And so I said, is it possible that your baby, and I called him by name, is he an ancestor now? I don't know. Why wouldn't he be? Isn't he where your grandmother is? And she said, I never thought about that. And so in one of the songs, Fiddler in the Roof, traditions, what are the traditions? What we are called upon in our spiritual practice is to begin to embrace the traditions that help us move our journey from cradle to when we leave here. And one of the most beautiful things happened. We were working on that. Let's see him as an ancestor. Let's see him as an ancestor. And she came to me, and she wasn't even supposed to come in for a one-on-one. She showed up this one day. Andy, can I talk to you? Can I talk to you? What? She goes, he came to my dream last night, and he was with my grandmother. And at that time, the focus of her recovery shifted completely, because she was able to grab a hold of a spiritual tradition and take it through that threshold. That's what Tevye is talking about. And that's what brings us joy. Because the young woman who came to me and talked to me about her son and her grandmother, her face was lit up with joy. A woman who we couldn't get through an hour before that in a session without the tears and the sobbing and the not knowing where she's going to be. And she showed up that day with incredible joy. He showed up to me. They showed up to me. And she began the shift of who's going to take care of my baby to he is helping take care of me. Wow. That's what Tevye is talking about. That's the ode to joy. What is the joy? That we build a construct that we can take with us and carry with us, no matter what happens. So, some years ago, some guy comes into religious science. Later on, a young woman turns him on to Fiddler on the Roof. Begin to build the traditions the best way I can. And then I live in paradise. And what I am so grateful for is that the fiddler followed me out of town. because these are the traditions that we, in religious science and new thought and metaphysics, we have to begin to gather our traditions and make sense out of what our lives, whatever direction we go to help us make the greatest sense of it and find the joy and find spirit and find the beauty of it. How many of these teddy bears today are going to be the fiddler for children? Come on. Come with me. That's what you're infusing right now. You know, some of these guys, when you look at them, you just can't help but smile, you know, and see their personalities come forward to walk the journey with whoever they will be and where they're going. So I'd like to take us into a prayerful moment, if I can. Okay. So as we enter into prayerful consciousness on this day, I embrace the beauty of this season. I embrace the inherent joy in this season. But I also embrace the beauty and inherent joy of every season of our lives. Because I know that the fiddler of tradition, of truth, of love, of joy, of practice, of principle, of wisdom is always there for us throughout what is sometimes a precarious journey for us. I honor the spiritual refugee in all of us. I honor the metaphorical refugee in all of us as we travel the journey of life and time. And ultimately, I know that as Holmes says, we build a home in joy, an eternal home in joy that sustains us through everything that comes our way. There is no greater gift that we can give ourselves than the sustainability of our spiritual practice. And I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful for the way that that has touched my life and the lives of everyone here today. And in my gratitude for this, I let my word go, knowing that it's so. And so it is. Thank you very much, you guys.
Here's a song about shining the light of joy. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you, so use I stand for you. And here I abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, well, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. And God needs us to shine its light as me, as you, so use me. Oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do.
That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Can I have the ushers come forward, please?
Focus for a moment on our traditions and think about all that we have here that brings us back Sunday after Sunday. Maybe it's a good book that we've read, maybe it's a class that we've taken, or maybe it's a wonderful friend that we met here. And at the bottom of it all, it's our own special growth that has made it significant for us. So Christmas is the season of the heart. It's a time for love, and it's time for giving. And we know that as we give, we shall receive. And so it is.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And so it is with gratitude that we bring our gifts to the altar, knowing that Spirit guides us as we use them with love and wisdom. And so it is.
It's not for me. There's a big guy around, and he'll be coming soon. And until he does, I invite you to go to the social hall and enjoy, buy tickets for the baskets or the jewelry. But most importantly, walk around up here. Love these guys. Send them great love. The police will be here tomorrow to pick them up, and there'll be joy all over town. So Dalton, thank you for being here and singing us out.
Please stand if you feel like it. Stretch out a little. It's a lovely sunny Sunday out there. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. That's how it goes. Let me hear you sing. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. All love now, all love, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is love, holy, holy. This morning all is joy now, all joy, holy, holy. All joy, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is joy, holy, holy. All good, one more time now. All good, holy, holy. Let me hear you sing. All good, holy, holy. I said all in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. I said all in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. not yet. She gave a